It was the week before Christmas and I was flying home to New Jersey from a business trip to California. When I got to the departure lounge, I ran into an old friend from high school. He was a first lieutenant in the Army coming home on leave. He said, "We should ask the gate agent to switch our seats so we could sit together." I said, "I can do better than that." I was traveling so much for my job that I had tons of frequent flyer miles. I cashed some in and upgraded both of us to first class. We had just settled into our seats when an Air Force major and his wife entered the plane and approached my friend. "Lieutenant, are you traveling on orders?" "No, sir. I am going home on leave. Is this guy traveling with you? Maybe he thought we were a couple?" "Not really, sir. We're old friends and just happened to be on the same flight. Did you and your friend get upgrades to first class?" "Yes, sir. We did." "Well, you're in our seats." My friend produced his boarding pass, which showed he was in his assigned seat. The major explained that regardless of the boarding pass, as a senior officer, he and his wife were entitled to the first-class seats, and we would have to move. That was when the flight attendant came over and asked what the problem was. The major said that he had asked the gate agent for an upgrade and was told none were available, but now he sees they upgraded a lieutenant and this civilian. As a superior officer, regardless of branch of service, he had priority and was claiming those seats. The flight attendant said, "Gentlemen, please stay in your assigned seats. Major, please proceed to your seats and coach. You are blocking other passengers." The major started arguing about rank and military protocol. He claimed he had the right to order the lieutenant out of his seat. It's never been clear to me how this clown thought he could order me to do anything. The flight attendant asked him again to take his seat, and he kept arguing. Finally, she said, "If you are so concerned with rank, I will get the pilot. He is a colonel in the Air Force Reserve, and I am sure he will be happy to order you to exit the airplane and discuss this with the gate agent." The major stared at her for a moment, then realized she wasn't bluffing. Before moving to his seat, he demanded my friend's name and unit so he could report him. I don't know if he ever did, but my friend never heard another word about it. Well, folks, for those of you who don't know, I work on cell phone towers. I used to work in an extremely remote rural area for a now defunct small cell phone company. The conversations are to the best of my recollection. The area I worked was the type of area where you could drive for hours and not see anything but field, forests, and animals. Most of the sites I had were what is referred to as island sites, meaning they don't hand off to another cell tower. And most of these sites were about 30 minutes apart on a good day. Well, I work nights, but you get the drift. So it came around that a competitor had located quite a few sites near our sites. I, being of the mindset of efficiency, purchased a phone from them and, with approval from my boss, kept it ready, especially during upgrades. But he was the type when anyone above him says boo, he'd jump and ask if he jumped high enough or should he jump again. So a couple of months later, boss's boss leaves, and we get a new boss's boss who spent 250% of his life in the confines of New York City. Within his first week, he's working the switch and sees me call in from our competitor's number. Of course, he takes offense to this, and it quickly comes down that nobody may use a competitor's phone. I bring up my concerns, but they don't need to do this in New York City, so we're not going to do this. Mind you, my job is to shut down our sites and upgrade or repair them. Yes, I'm the guy you love to hate when you can't make a phone call. And so it happens a short time later, I'm at one of my most remote sites, a 45-minute drive to the next site on a good day, about 4 hours from home. I do my diligence, call the switch, tell them what I need them to change, and shut down the site. An hour later, the sites were not up. I go through everything on my end. Yep, everything's good. Aw, crap. Now, there's a couple of payphones, but they were the competitor's phone. So I started driving. It takes me about 1.5 hours to get to the next site because of a freak blizzard. Crap that sits down too. Roll onto the next site, usually about 30 minutes, but it's snowing hard and the roads are crap. 2.5 hours on the road after leaving the original site. I finally get service. Pull over, and in 5 minutes we figured out the switch crossed a number and took down the wrong site. Switch promises to fix it, and I drive 3 hours back to the original site. 30 minutes later, it's still not up. This time it takes an hour to get to the closest site. Call the switch again. They get it up, and after about 30 minutes, I verify it's up. Hooray! But I still have to drive back, clean up, and make some testing calls. 18. Some odd hours after I left my driveway, I pulled back in and submitted my time, complete with the OT. It's my Friday. I turn off my phone and hit the bed. Monday morning, I turn on my phone for our weekly call in a meeting, and I crap you. Knotted buzzes with new texts and voicemails for 20 straight minutes, all from boss and boss's boss. I jump on the call, and the first thing I hear is the boss's boss. BB, why the F did you have a nearly 9-hour outage for a 30-minute upgrade before I get a word in, and how dare you claim 9 hours of OT when you were clearly ducking around not doing your job? Me? Well, there were a series of issues outside of the site, and a freak snowstorm slowed my response. I hit send on emails I had already prepared before clocking out for the weekend with full rundown of events of the night, as a reply to the emails coming down from him dismissing my needs for a competitor's phone. And included his boss, vice president of the company. BB, I don't want to ducking hear excuses from you. Why didn't you just use a ducking payphone and call for help? Literally everyone on the call groaned. Me, in case you don't remember, I just replied to a series of emails where you forbade me under threat of termination from using a competitor's phone. At this point, I hear the vice president join our call, and since payphones are owned by a competitor, I spent 6 hours driving around in a blizzard searching for service instead of spending 45 minutes to an hour and making a call on a competitor's phone. BB, I never effing threatened to terminate anyone. Don't be stupid, you could have used a payphone. Vice President cuts in. It appears, BB, that you do not remember what you said, and Mr. Kerr has clearly documented his actions on the night in question. BB, please call me immediately. Thank you everyone else for your time this morning. Please have a good day. This meeting is over. BB was removed shortly afterwards, having a fairly rocky rest of his short employment. I now work for the company which purchased our competitor. I've moved to my home state, though I still work in a rural market. It's not quite as bad. So, my mom is the most entitled, self-absorbed, selfish person I know. She grew up with a silver spoon in her mouth, and her daddy paid for everything, so she has no idea how to adult, especially now at 72 years old. I have strived every day to not be like this woman. Truthfully, my mom didn't do much raising of me until I was about 15 years old. Other family members did prior to that. That being said, I gave birth to my daughter, Megan, in December of 2022, and she is the love of my life and the apple of my eye. My mom loves her for as much as she can genuinely love anyone or anything, and seems to think they're going to be best friends. Her behavior, however, has far from reflected that. Every time my kiddo cries in the background while we're on the phone, my mom's first reaction is what's wrong with her. Each time, I calmly say that she's a baby and babies cry. Then her next response is always, well, you never cried, which I highly doubt. Over the phone, my mom has said things like, I'm surprised you haven't looked at her, and told her to stop. She needs to be quiet. I'm not in the mood to deal with her crying today. You're going to have to call me back. I can't listen to her. Nice, right? I have called her out on these kind of statements before, saying that it's unacceptable for her to say those things and to speak to my child that way. But she's the queen, so no one tells her what to do. She moved to our area recently, and my daughter started crying while we were driving down the road. Not even full-fledged lung-emptying screaming, just medium-level crying. After a couple minutes, my mom leans around the passenger seat and shouts, Megan, stop! And that's when I lost it. I tore into her and told her she will not scream at my child because she is my child and not her child, and that she was going to sit there and listen to her because that's what I have to do every day. I also told her if she has a problem with the noises my child makes, then she won't be welcome at our home. I yelled at her so severely that she cowered in her seat. Then I said very loudly and sarcastically, It's okay, Megan. Granny doesn't know what she's saying because she has no idea what it's like to raise a child. The rest of the car ride was pretty quiet, and it only solidified my decision to never leave my daughter alone with her. So this happened today at lunch break, right before the class ended. A 12-year-old kid threw a big rock in the size of a hand to a class full of expensive equipment. The teacher who's in charge of that class came out furious and catches the kid and drag him to the director room. The mother saw her kid getting dragged to the university, attacked the teacher inside the uni, claiming that he's kidnapping her child, threatening to call the police for a kidnapping attempt. The teacher scolded her for what her son did. She keeps screaming, "He's only 12, he didn't do nothing wrong," then slapped him. I couldn't hear the rest of the conversation because literally everyone was outside watching the mother slapping the teacher. The father came at that time trying to reason about what is happening. I wasn't able to watch the entire drama because the other teachers sent us all back to class, but I can conclude that kid is getting one hell of a beating back home. It's probably not as flashy as other stories here, but still entitled and starring a mom. My daughter, 4, pretty much gets along with most of the kids in kindergarten. So her birthday used to be kind of a bigger event. This year, instead of the usual pool party, she wanted to visit a specific kid-friendly theme park. This means more costs and stress for us. Transportation, but also supervising. So we opted to only invite the kids she is close to. All of them have been regularly inviting her as well for playtime and their own birthdays. One of the kids who didn't get an invite this year never had invited my daughter to birthday or playdates. Also, my daughter told me that girl is not her friend and calls her ugly because of her glasses. Said child didn't get an invite this year but was invited last year. Her mom then approached me today, entitled, "Mom, so, OP daughter. Birthday is all the talk right now. All the kids are excited." Me, yes, my daughter is also really looking forward to it. Entitled, "Mom, do you have a schedule yet?" Me, a rough one, but we still have time to figure it out. Entitled, "Mom, any suggestions for a gift?" Me, well, you don't need to get us anything. We also did not get one for your kid. Entitled, "Mom, yes, but my daughter was not invited, so she didn't need to get a gift." Me, exactly. Silence. Entitled, "Mom, wait, do you mean we're not invited to my daughter's birthday?" Me, yes, sorry, but we wanted to go smaller this year as the trip is more expensive. Entitled, "Mom, but my kid is looking forward to it." Me, sorry, I am sure you can still go whenever you want. Entitled, "Mom, no, she wants to go with her friends." Me, invite them and she can. Entitled, "Mom, ha ha, very funny. What about the party and the cake? This is ridiculous." My daughter will feel left out. You're a bully. At this point, I just shrugged and went my way. Edit. I wanted to add that I think it was absolutely okay for her to not invite my daughter as they are financially in a different place. I wouldn't shame them for it or not invite her kid over it. She didn't get an invite because my daughter simply stopped liking her after she started calling her ugly.